Hello, my name is Liam Gaffney, and this is my quarter two passion project. Going into the quarter, I had a couple ideas about what I wanted to do for my passion project. Once the idea of it being like personalized and not just being our leather-bound journals, I started to kind of really look into what I wanted to do, which is a long-winded way and probably way more complex way of saying that. I got excited when I found out I could do whatever I wanted. I'd considered creating short film. I had actually gotten pretty far in the process. I had storyboarded it out, but unfortunately, just in terms of timing, it didn't really work. I still want to pursue that in my own personal time, but maybe not for this quarter. I'd considered creating a list of poems of mine that I want to present in a similar type of video essay format, but I figured I could expand upon that idea. See, when we had watched Dead Poets Society in class, I had really become interested with romanticism and that whole general outlook. Well, I myself don't really associate myself as a romantic. In many ways, I view myself as much more of a realist. I still think it's a very fascinating philosophy. So my newfound quarter two passion project would be to research romanticism, to find my favorite poets and their best poems, to find my favorite artists, and at the end of the quarter, to create my own poem as a bit of a summary of romanticism in a modern day perspective through my eyes. So to start with, undoubtedly, my favorite piece of romantic media that I have consumed in quarter two, Dead Poets Society. Like me and my fellow classmates, we had written a literary analysis of the Dead Poets Society. I had chose to talk about romanticism in Neil's suicide in particular. But I kind of wanted to move past that and just focus on Carpe Diem for the sake of this video. You see, Carpe Diem, to seize the day, has always had a weirdly strong effect on my life. My dad has this Carpe Diem t-shirt that he got back in 1990 something. Probably back during his college days, and I've always worn it. Whenever I'd wear it, he'd say, like, hey, seize the day, but I had never really seized the day, if that makes any sense. I really never took the words into full consideration or really understood the weight of them. So when I'd seen the idea of Carpe Diem shot so beautifully within the movie Dead Poets Society, it really touched me and changed how I was living my life. And not to any crazy degree. Unfortunately, I'm not traveling around the country every day jumping off skyscrapers or skydiving or diving with sharks, but it changed the little things. My appreciation of the little things has really become a lot greater within the past several months. And even though that doesn't directly correlate with seizing the day, it still makes the day a lot more enjoyable. I started taking the little victories I get throughout the day and using that motivation to get bigger victories throughout the day, if that makes any sense. I've really tried to suck as much out of life as I've been able to, whether it be hanging out with my friends, my family, or just taking risks in daily life. I've found my life to be far more rewarding and enjoyable due to it. So in terms of application of romanticism into my life, that's definitely the big one. Now moving on to the real meat and potatoes of this of this video essay. I'd like to focus on the poets, the poems, and the art. Now to start off with one of my favorite poets from this movement, it would have to be Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Now, Samuel helped to form the Romantic movement within England in the late 18th century, and had really, within his writing, pushed the idea, the glorification of nature, and the emotion of nature. He ended up pushing out some absolutely incredible pieces in which I've quite enjoyed, such as Kubla Khan, which I will read to you now. Now, this poem happens to be a bit on the longer side, so I'm going to read my favorite stanza from it. But oh, that deep romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill athwart a cedarn cover, a savage place, as holy and enchanted as ere beneath a waning moon was haunted, by a woman wailing for her demon lover, and from this charm with ceaseless turmoil seething,
As if this earth in fast thick pants were breathing, a mighty fountain momently was forced, amid whose swift half-intermitted burst, huge fragments vaulted like rebounding hail, or chaffy grain beneath the thresher's flail. And amid these dancing rocks, at once and ever, it flung up momently the sacred river. 5 miles meandering, with a mazy motion, through wood and dale the sacred river ran, then reached the caverns measureless to man, and sank in tumults to a lifeless ocean. And mid this tumult Kubla heard from far ancestral voices prophesizing war. The shadow of the dome of pleasure floated midway on the waves, where was heard the mingled measure from the fountain and the caves. It was a miracle of rare device, a sunny pleasure dome with caves of ice.
Now, primarily, this poem is a beautiful depiction of pleasure. Samuel really outdoes himself in terms of creating an atmosphere with his words. He used a very complex and descriptive vocabulary to create this beautiful, colorful environment within your head. Just reading through it, the romantic chasm which slanted down the green hill athwart a cedar cover creates this absolutely astonishing image in my head of these greens and earthy tones in a very vibrant light. But to touch again on the pleasure mentioned, as this is only one stanza, you don't really get the whole gist of the story of the poem. However, it focuses in on this Mongol king's summer palace. He describes his beautiful gems and the beauty of the grounds, and in general, the exotic pleasures of this king's life. There are several passages where they change the wording into more stark, violent descriptions. It creates this amazing back and forth between, once again, comfort and uncomfort, pleasure and no pleasure. Really, at its core, is just an absolutely fantastic poem with a great use of description. It really is just a great poem that does a fantastic job in really enunciating the impact of nature and the emotion that nature really holds. Sam is undoubtedly my favorite poet who I've come across within this period. And even though it's not really English, I'm going to take some leniency here. It's my passion project, so I'm going to talk about it. Art. Art is a pretty big part of my life. I really enjoy art. Here's some art of mine. Here's a little bit of a closer look at it. Self-portrait, a little seascape, fun stuff. So, as I'm sure you can expect, when delving deeper into Romanticism and seeing the amazing impact it had on art throughout the 19th century, I was absolutely blown away. But undoubtedly, my favorite artist of this entire period is Francesco Hayez. As my favorite artist, you'd assume that I'd be able to pronounce his name right, but I'm afraid that I might not be. Regardless, he has an amazing style. He began as a neoclassical painter, but over the course of his career really delved into romantic art. And while it's kind of creepy, at the tail end of his career, he fine-tuned it on painting young women. He started out in a very poor family as a very poor man, but eventually moved to Milan to pursue the arts. While he was in the Italian city, he focused a lot of his efforts into painting historical pieces, political pieces, and in general, these beautiful, very complex portrait pieces. Indisputably, I think his best work is The Kiss, which is his most renowned piece. His masterpiece, let's be clear. Here we see two lovers engaging in a very passionate kiss. As you can see, they're lean. And it really just does a fantastic job of depicting true love. It's very raw, it's very passionate, and he does a fantastic job displaying the beauty of this kind of relationship. The softness of his color work, obviously this was done with a set of oils, creates this very delicate tone within the fabrics that the woman and the man wears. Within the bottom portion of the lady's dress, you see these crinkles and little disruptions within the fabric, and it just creates this absolutely fantastic, phenomenal look. Again, I know this isn't specifically English related, but it just had to be discussed, because look at it. It is an absolute masterpiece. So I guess the last main thing I'd like to touch upon before delving into my own poem is what really is romanticism to me? Well, to answer that question, well, to me, romanticism is being an individual, being spontaneous, being rational, being imaginative, not really conforming to society in any way, even though that makes me seem like a psychopath joker. It's generally the gist I got from studying it. To really be yourself, live in the moment, focus on nature, to appreciate nature, to appreciate the beauty of the body, to appreciate the beauty of life itself, to find some amount of solidarity within spirituality and religion. Even though I personally struggle with that, there still is some importance to it. So, now that we've reached this point, it's time for me to create my poem. But to do that, I think I'd like to get some inspiration first. So, so join me as we go for a little bit of a nature walk. It is absolutely freezing out. I think it's like 20 right now. There we go. Pretty sunny day. Nice nature. All right, I just thought this was remarkable. Since I've lived near this pond for years, but it is completely frozen over. All right, so my phone died. So excuse the janky transition and the outfit change. But now that I'm feeling properly inspired by the outdoors, I'm going to get a start on my poem. Alright, so the poem is now done, and very soon I will read it to you. I based it similarly with romanticism in nature. That was the main focus on it, and in a way, solidarity and being oneself and being alone. This whole project was done in a kind of weird way, where it tees up for the climax in a way to occur in one singular moment when I finish this poem. So it's weird to see this project kind of come to a close as I lay the last couple words on this doc. But enough of that. Here's my poem. Here is the culmination of my Q2 passion project. Here I lay beyond the hill, past the downed oak, past the clump of weed. The gentle and continuous downpour of the falls fills the air, till the mist of the spat water gets thick enough to feel on your throat when you breathe. It's a unique day in a strange capacity, wherein which I venture past the once flexible and cycling water, only to see it stagnant and still. Apart from the trickling of the stream, and the slap of the aforementioned fall upon the rocks that catch them, there is a deafening silence. It's lonely in the most comfortable way. I feel the silence against my face as it gently caresses and eases the stress I carry, calling out to me in its hushed, non-existent tone. It assures me that I'm all right, that I'm here, and that I'm alive. It's strange in its own way, but it does me good. The silence always does me good, through thick and thin. When those around me leave, and I myself am left in solitude, it's there with me. Keeps me company when I have but no company to keep. When I fall flat on my face and the room is swept cold, once again he pays me a visit. So here I am, standing in a circle of maple and pine, beyond the hill, past the downed oak, past the clump of weed. And even though no one seems to stand with me, not a solitary soul, he's still here with me, wrapping me in his all-encompassing embrace. Alrighty, so to wrap this up, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. Thank you for coming with me on this journey in my deep dive through romanticism. And yeah, I'm excited to see what I do for quarter 3 and quarter 4. Thank you.